Today on the Ask BP podcast, we're talking about in real estate, how do you structure a good, fair partnership deal? Stay tuned.
You're listening to another BiggerPockets Ask BP podcast, where you'll hear short, direct answers to your biggest real estate questions. Submit your question today on Facebook, Twitter, or the BiggerPockets forums by using hashtag AskBP. And don't forget to pick up your copy of The Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Real Estate Investing and other great content when you sign up for your free account at BiggerPockets.com. With that, let's get to the show.
Hey, what is going on, everyone? My name is Brandon here with the Ask BP podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, we're talking about partnerships, something that I'm a big fan of. I use a lot in my business. I've used both on the flipping side and on the rental side, and I'll talk a little bit more about that today. But first, let us get to today's question, and it actually comes from, Kevin N. from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And Kevin asked simply, how do I structure a fair partnership deal? All right, so first of all, let's talk about partnerships in general. Why partnerships? Why should we even use them? Why do I use them? So here's the deal. Everybody has things that they're good at and things that they suck at, right? I mean, there's things that I have in my life and things that I don't have. When I first started, I had $0 to my name. I mean, I had nothing. And so I used partnerships because I had no money, but I did have drive and enthusiasm and passion and knowledge because I learned. I read every book I could. And so what I was able to do is bring together a couple things. And I also had the deal. I would find incredible deals. And then I'd have the deal, the passion. I could put it all together. I just didn't have the money to buy it. So I'd partner with people in order to buy the properties. And I still do that a little bit today. The idea of working with partners is a very powerful strategy. Now, maybe money's not your thing you're lacking. Maybe you lack time. Maybe you don't have the time to work on a project. Maybe you don't have the knowledge yet. Maybe you're just getting started and you have no idea what you're doing, and you could partner with somebody who does. And so I generally advocate partnerships quite a bit because of the ability to recover on whatever you're lacking, but your partner can cover for it. So first of all, when talking about a partnership, make sure you're partnering with somebody who has the complementary things that you lack, right? So you can't just pick anybody to be your partner. I mean, partners aren't any good if they have the same problems you do. So if two broke guys are still going to be broke. So, keep that in mind that your partner should complement what you lack, I guess, to put it that way. Also understand that not everyone makes a good partner. In fact, you want to try to find a partner who you can work well with, and that's not going to be most people. When I work with a partner, whether it's a lending partner or in either way, I want somebody who's easygoing, yet still smart, and that can work with me. I want to know that we can face problems when they arise together, and it's not going to turn into a blame game. So I look for people that I get along with well. Typically, my partners are, always, they're people that I know, whether it's from BiggerPockets directly or whether it's from family or friends. When I work with partners, I look for that kind of thing. So before we even talk about how to structure a fair partnership deal, I want to get that off the table as well, just to let you know that be careful when you're picking partners. I mean, partners can be valuable, but they can also destroy your business if you don't do it right. So keep that in mind. Thirdly, as for structuring, and talking about structuring the deal, how do you make a fair partnership deal? Well, the cool thing about partnerships is there are no rules, right? I mean, it's not like there's Article 20 of the Constitution says a real estate partnership should be A, B, and C, and you go to prison if you don't do it that way. There are no rules when it comes to partnerships, really. It's kind of what you negotiate. And so maybe I can just tell you a few different types of partnerships that people do. First, a lot of people do what's known as I don't know what it's known as. I'm going to make it known as that today, a 50-50 partnership, right? So they bring half the money, and they try to do half the work, and the other partner brings half the money, and the other partner does half the work. Maybe you divide up tasks and say, okay, well, I'm going to be in charge of phone calls and this, you're going to be in charge of maintenance and this, or whatever. That's a common way, and I've done that before. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Now, if you want to try to get in with less money, a little bit more creative, you could come up with a solution like, let me tell you a story real quick. I'll explain this partnership in regards to one of mine. So I have a friend who wanted to invest in real estate, but didn't have the knowledge or the time because he worked a full-time job, but wanted to invest in real estate, him and his wife. And so, and they also had a little bit of money to work with. Well, I didn't have the money to work with, but I did have the motivation and the time and I found a really, really good deal. So together, we worked together, and my partner brought the entire down payment for the loan. We went and got a loan together, and he brought the entire down payment, and then we got a bank loan for the rest, and he had amazing credit, or they, had amazing credit, amazing income, all that good stuff. And I had a little bit of experience working with real estate, and I found this a great deal that was going to cash flow really well. And so we partnered, and I said, okay, you bring the money, the down payment, I'll take care of managing the property from here on out. I found the deal. I'll manage the contractors while we're fixing the place up. I'll manage the property while we're, get tenants in there. I'll deal with all of that drama. All you have to do, partner, is bring in the funds. And so in that way, we did a partnership in which I didn't bring any money to the table, but it was still a 50-50 partnership. We split everything at the end of the day 50-50, even though I did it with no money out of pocket. So that's another way to do it. Other times, you could even call a lending situation a partnership technically. So you might want to, let's say you wanted to fix and flip a house. And so you offer somebody, 12% interest to lend you the money and the rehab costs, or maybe just the money and you're going to supply the rehab costs, and you structure it that way. That's always a good, strategy for flipping houses. And then they get their interest rate, you get your whatever you profit you make at the end. And that also is considered a partnership. And so those are some of the ways. And again, you can pretty much do whatever you want. There are no rules. It's whatever you negotiate. But the key for me when I'm doing a partnership, the key that I want to see is fairness on both sides. I want both sides of the partnership to feel like, man, this is awesome. Or, man, I like this. This is a great deal for me. I want both sides to feel really good. And if both sides don't feel good, then I'm nervous about moving forward. I don't want to move forward. I want both sides to always think and know that they got a good the good end of that partnership. And so just something to keep that in mind. Make sure you structure it fairly for all parties. Don't take advantage of the other person because they don't know what they're doing, because they will know what they're doing eventually, and then they'll realize that you screwed them over. So just from the very beginning, plan to be a very good partner. And then finally, make sure an attorney looks over whatever it is you work out. There's a quote, I'm going to get it totally, I'm going to butcher it wrong, but basically it says something along the lines of always plan that I think Chris Clothier even said it on a recent podcast, but always plan for the end of your partnership. Like at the beginning of your partnership, you should always plan for the end of it, because every partnership ends. They all end someday. And so the way it ends, you get to decide at the beginning. I think that was kind of the gist of his quote, but I'm sure I butchered it. So, at the beginning, it's going to die someday. That partnership will end, whether you sell the property, whether one person wants out, whether whatever happens. So the partnership agreement that you sign, that you write up, that you form, should cover how the partnership ends, as well as how it manages and how it runs. The more detail you go into, the less trouble you'll get into later, and the more fair it'll be, because it's all written out and both parties signed it. Even if it's not legally required to do a partnership agreement, do it anyway, because people forget. This is one thing I've found a lot in life or real estate. People forget what you talk about. And so if you just shake hands one day and say, look, we're going to do this and this, and then later on you're like, well, I don't even, they're like, well, I thought you said I was going to get 70% of the deal. And you're like, no, it was supposed to be 50-50. And they're like, I swear you said 70%. And then most people are like, don't worry about it. But then there's always that suspicion of like, are they ripping me off? And then you can lose friendships, and Thanksgiving dinner is really awkward, and it just gets weird, right? So get everything in writing. I don't care if it's awkward up front to be like, if you're partnering with your mom and dad or brother or your kids, whatever, I don't care who you're partnering with. It could be your own spouse. I mean, get it in writing. Get everything in writing. And sign it, and have an attorney look it over to make sure it's legal, because there's a lot of things you might write in there that might not be legal. And so make sure you have an attorney review it. And then, I guess pretty much the last thing I want to say is when you're working with partners, only invest in incredible deals. Don't worry about crappy deals. Don't try to, cut corners or be a little overly optimistic with your numbers, because then you're not just ruining your life, you're ruining their life as well. So when you're going to work with a partner, make sure the deal is absolutely solid, and it's going to be a good return for both of you. I recommend running any numbers you have. Run it through the BiggerPockets rental property calculator. You can get to it at biggerpockets.com/calc, or just have both partners or have somebody more experienced look over the deal and make sure it's a good deal. Because again, you don't want to buy a bad one in a partnership. Not only will it not give you a return, but it can also make really hurt feelings down the road. And so I wish, Kevin, I could give you some more actionable, this is exactly how you should set up a partnership. But the truth is, you could go any number of ways. And then, I didn't mention LLCs at all. You could form an LLC. You could not. That's a topic between you and your CPA and attorney. And I talked about that a few weeks ago here on the Ask BP podcast. So head over to BiggerPockets.com/AskBP and check that out. Finally, before we get out of here, I wanted to mention that over on BiggerPockets.com/AskBP, I put up a new button. There's a button that says submit a question to be answered. And so I thought it might be easier for people to ask questions if there's a big old green button. So head over to BiggerPockets.com/AskBP, and yes, you can do it on your phone if you're on your phone right now. Just don't text and drive. But if you have any question you want me to talk about, go ahead and ask it there. Just click the big button, and it's going to take you to a submission page, and you can ask any question you want, and I will try to get to it in the coming weeks. So with that, today's success quote of the day comes from Christopher Morley, who said, "There is only one success: to be able to spend your life in your own way." And hopefully that is why you're listening to the podcast here, why you're a part of Bigger is because you want to live life your way, not someone else's. So I want to encourage you today, get out there, start living your life your way, and in pursuit of your dreams, goals, and aspirations, don't just learn, but take action. For the Ask BP podcast, this is Brandon, signing off.
You've just heard another episode of the BiggerPockets Ask BP podcast. Submit your question today on Facebook, Twitter, or the BiggerPockets forum by using #AskBP. And for more incredible real estate investing tools and education, including a free download of our book, The Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Real Estate Investing, head over to BiggerPockets.com and sign up for your free account today. We'll see you on the next show.